a son of South Carolina, 6th District Congressman Jim Clyburn.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very, very much, and thank you, Paul, for, I hope, presenting me to this group. If I need to be introduced to you all, I'm in serious trouble. We were 4 days from an election, and we are sitting or standing here in the 6th Congressional District, so I hope this was just a presentation. And thank you, Paul, for your friendship. Thank you. But let me clean up a little bit. That endowment is now $1.7 million. So don't cut me too short on that. I have traveling with me today. I started out the day pretty early. In fact, I've started out the last 6 or 7 days pretty early, and I decided to interrupt campaigning by stopping off here today to do this. And as Paul said, there's another luncheon that I've got to do right after this, so I'll do salad here and go to the next place to lunch. I used to do that in Washington quite a bit, going around to evening events. But when it's this time of day, it's kind of easy for me. You don't have to worry about how expensive it gets. I want to thank a lot of other people who are here. Phil Gross is here with me, who I've known for a long, long time. Phil introduced me to political chicanery. I first met Phil before I joined the governor's office, and after the 1970 run for State House of Representatives, I was declared, I won the primary, and in the general election, I was declared the winner around 10 o'clock in the evening. The next morning, I was counted out. And I received an invitation from Governor West to join his staff. I had some trepidations with that, and so when I came to Columbia at the governor's invitation to be interviewed, it wasn't exactly an interview. I thought it was an interview, but they had made up their minds that I was going to be in the office. And he told me what the pay was. I was going to have to take a cut in pay, so I wasn't too sure I wanted to do that. And I didn't know if I needed to be confined to a governor's staff anyway, so I would not say yes. And I walked out of the door, and when I got to the door, there were TV cameras and news reporters and asking, well, are you going to do it? And that was an introduction. They had leaked the story and made it impossible for me to say no. I'm very glad that they leaked that story, and I'm very glad they made it impossible for me to say no. I have no idea what my life would have been like if I had not said yes. And so I thank him for being here. I want to thank the folks from the Human Affairs Commission who are here. Quite a few who are here, and I want to thank them because I took a lot of credit when I was at that agency for a lot of good that got done by them. And they stayed quiet pretty often and let me take the credit. And so I want to thank them so much for continuing to carry on a couple of the legacies. One of the things I often said, and I continue to say to every staffer that I ever work with or even counsel with, that we should all, irrespective of what our stations in life may be, we should all find something to do for which we are not paid. I just sincerely believe that the most rewarding of experiences come out of those things that you do because there's something that motivates you for which you do not expect any remuneration or any kind of reward outside of just self-fulfillment. I have found in all, and I try to tell my children that, one of whom was with me today. My daughter Angela is here. And now she's taking it a little too far. Most of what she does, she doesn't get paid for it. And she expects for me to support it. But I'll thank her for spending some time with me this week. And she has with her, and I'm glad her intended. They tell me that come February the 14th that they're going to get married. I don't know why they won't just run away, but I want to thank Caesar for being here as well, and he's traveling with me today as well. But the reason I think this is true, and if I go back, I think it has a lot to do with the foundation upon which my entire life of service has been built. And I think it all goes back to a little book in the Bible, the book of James, which is my favorite book of the Bible. Now, it's not just because it's my name, James, though that might be a pretty good reason. But one of the things about the book of James is a pretty short book of the Bible, only 5 chapters. You can read the whole thing in one sitting and really think you've done something. But in the book of James, we get a real good sort of synopsis of what is required of people, especially people of faith. Now, a lot of times, the feeling is there that all you have to do is just say you're faithful, just give testimony to just what we call lip service to what needs to be done. James tells us in his epistle that a little more than that is required. He sums it up in the 2nd chapter, saying that if your brother or sister comes to you hungry or naked, it is not enough to tell them to go in faith. You feed them and you clothe them. And that is one of the real purposes of the United Way. I can think of no better way to live united than to really agree on something that needs to be done and collectively work to get it accomplished. Now, in order to do that, you have to come to grips with a few things. One of the first things you've got to do is set aside personal agendas. I have found very often that we get stymied in our work, especially that which we do of benevolence, because there's this strange hunger for credit. And we tend to sometimes, pretty often, lose sight on what we are trying to do in search of credit, of getting credit for it having gotten done. But what I found is that when you give of self, when you do not expect any remuneration, it's a little easier to really work collectively in order to get done. And when you work collectively, what you will find is there's usually enough credit to go around, to be shared by everybody.